So what's going on, guys? My name's Chopper. Welcome everybody back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be ranking every hero in Rogue Company from worst to best. Now, currently in Rogue Company, there are 13 different unique characters that you can choose from when jumping into gameplay, and all of them have both unique abilities and different weapons that are specific to their armory. And today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at every single hero in the game, and we're going to be ranking all of them from worst to best, figuring out which ones would probably work for you and your playstyle, and generally which ones work well together on a team. Before we get started as well, we are going to be going through all the different details, but it will be sort of ranked based on my opinion also. But if you guys want to let me know your favorite rogue down below in the comment section, I would love to know what your top 3 are. And if you guys do end up enjoying the video, all I ask in return is if you leave a like rating. That would be very, very much appreciated. And if you want to stick around and see more Rogue Company content, there will be plenty more videos on the channel. Consider subscribing for more videos like this. But anyways, guys, let's get into ranking every single rogue in Rogue Company from worst to best. So coming today at our worst spot, I think I'm gonna have to give this one to Glitch. Now, it's really interesting because I hardly ever see this guy being played in public matches at all, and I believe the reason for that is the meta right now just doesn't involve people using equipment properly, and that's his biggest strength, is essentially identifying and nullifying all enemy equipment, and then also hacking enemies, put some disorientation visual effects on their screen. And other than that, Glitch isn't really useful outside of those abilities. I believe the thing is, Glitch is going to become more useful as the meta evolves and people understand how to combine and use equipment more synergistically, and then that's when I believe Glitch will really shine. But at the minute, he really just doesn't have a lot going for him, even as far as just weaponry. Like, his armory is okay, his shotgun is probably his best weapon. The Semtex grenade is never a bad call with Glitch, and I'm going to highly suggest that you put that on if you do end up playing him, but just generally not one of my favorite rogues to play. I just don't think he's incredibly useful, and I'm hoping he either gets buffed in the future or just becomes useful as the meta changes, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Also, me saying that, I'm not implying that he's a bad rogue and that you shouldn't play him, but I just think he's probably the lowest tier out of the other available characters. Coming in just above rogue, we have Vi. Now, I don't think that she is a bad rogue whatsoever. I just don't think that she is incredibly useful at the minute. Her armory is fairly unique. Her Nightshade assault rifle, probably being her best gun, comes automatically silenced, which is incredibly nice, but the success or failure of Vi almost entirely relies on your enemy's ability to stand in your toxic pool, because not only will that decrease their maximum health that they can regenerate if they're playing an objective, but that will also increase your health as theirs decreases. But to be honest, I feel most people avoid Vi's pools pretty easily. Like, I don't think people consciously stand in it most of the time. Like, it's pretty easy to get around, so I don't think she has the biggest presence on the battlefield. On paper, she should be a really good rogue, but I think just the way that the meta has evolved at the minute, she just doesn't really have a place, and she's incredibly situational. She might be just the thing you need to get through a situation, but just generally, if you're just maybe one-manning or you're just playing casually, I really wouldn't recommend her because she doesn't have a lot going for her other than that. Coming in just above Vi, we have Anvil, and while personally not one of my favorite rogues to play, I understand the utility and effectiveness behind when he's played correctly. Now, Anvil is best used in very team-coordinated situations, and especially for holding down objectives. His abilities involve being able to put up a wall and also throw C4, which is incredibly powerful, and if you can also set those things up properly, his LMG is easily one of the best guns in the game. It is absolutely insane how much damage this puts out. It almost kills as fast as his shotgun, so I don't even recommend running that at all. I would say always run his LMG, and it's also severely worth upgrading his C4 because you can use this to pop around corners and get rid of pesky, you know, peak campers and stuff. It's also worth mentioning that this is one of the few rogues that can get extra armor if he likes as a perk, so you can spawn in each life with an extra 25 HP. Super useful for holding down objectives, especially in combination with that shield. Anvil has some of the most utility that's useful in comparison to other rogues, but again, his success or failure greatly depends on the cooperation of your teammates, I would say. Not a great solo rogue in my opinion, but again, with the help of a coordinated squad, he's absolutely unbeatable. Coming in just above Anvil, we have Dima, and he is certainly one of the better rogues in the game, and honestly, I would say is probably the one that you should start out with if you're just getting into playing Rogue Company. He's like a very simple and straightforward character. His weapons are just straight up good for damage, and his abilities are no different. His special ability involves the use of a one-time use grenade launcher, which is incredibly powerful and can literally clear out an entire objective in one shot if used properly. I also recommend his frag grenade as an adjunct to that grenade launcher itself, and his weapons, and especially his rifle, they just hit different. He is so unbelievably useful, and he's straightforward. Like, there really isn't a whole lot of nuance with him, and, you know, he's pretty much good in every situation. He's one of those characters that is a good solo rogue, in my opinion, which the same cannot be said for the rest of them in the game, but certainly for Dima. The only weakness for him that he really has is he's not wonderful up close. Like, if you're able to flank and then close the gap on him, he can definitely struggle a bit. But other than that, he's a great rogue and certainly one of the better ones in the game. Coming in above Dima, who's a little more nuanced, we have Talon. Now, his abilities are where his strength lies. It's not really his weaponry, which I would say is probably about average tier or lower. His SMG is good, but it isn't anything to write home about. Where he really shines is his tracking ability with his radar dart. Now, this can be thrown pretty much an infinite number of times and placed down wherever you like. He is best played slow and methodically and tactically, and his stun grenade is absolutely wonderful as well. If you're playing against a competent team that can pretty much avoid being revealed or stay off the radar as much as possible, then Talon can struggle a little bit, but he's an absolute noob vacuum. If you play your radar dart right, it's pretty much impossible to die, as you can see almost every incoming gunfight. So he's best played really tactically, and I actually think he's one of the better rogues in the game for sure. Coming in just above that, we have Trench. Now, he actually surprised me, and I like Trench a lot more than I thought I would, just based on his armory and his abilities. Now, he is a quite methodical and defensive playstyle as well, so he is basically designed to hold down objectives or make it harder for the enemy to approach them. His main specialist ability being Barbed Wire, which you'll probably see it around the map a lot if you're new to the game and you're maybe not sure what it is. It's basically just a big patch that essentially makes it harder for enemies to run in, and it can impede movement and make choke points, stuff like that. So he's, again, used pretty tactically and defensively. His tear gas grenades aren't amazing, but they are useful in a lot of situations. In my opinion, Trench is best used in combination with someone like Anvil or even Talon, where you can basically scope out enemies before they even get there. You can plan out their attacks, slow them down, and then just pick them off one by one. His armory is pretty good too. His assault rifle is easily one of the best guns in the game, and if you can hit your shots, those do land hard. So I would almost always recommend this gun unless you have a good reason to run the other one. Trench is a really good rogue and certainly one of the higher tier ones in the game. Moving on though, coming into our next spot, we have Dallas. Now, Dallas is one of the more interesting rogues in the game, and his armory certainly reflects that. His HRM weapon is absolutely wonderful, and his EMP grenade is probably his best piece of equipment, but where Dallas really shines is his ability, and this has a lot more interesting mechanics than meets the eye. Now, basically, you can use this to reveal the closest enemy possible, and it will last for your entire team for roughly a few seconds, and that's good for revealing one enemy, but what's also useful about it is, especially in respawn modes, you can reveal where people aren't, kind of. So a well-positioned Dallas can use his ability and figure out exactly where enemies are not, and you can almost use like process of elimination to essentially investigate where the other characters might be based on the closest one to you, if that makes sense. Good Dallas, in my opinion, also knows when to be aggressive and when to be more passive, and this is very important because Dallas is not just like a top fragger. Like his weapons are good, but you can't just really solo man it, and you know, there are people that will outgun him, especially in certain situations, but Dallas needs to sometimes be the guy that will go in and clutch it up, but also you just have to kind of sit back and rely on your teammates to pick them off one by one. His ability cools down relatively fast, so again, it's with Dallas, it's really about playing your life and just not dying, using that as much as possible and getting some slow but sure picks. Coming in just above Dallas, we have one of my favorite rogues in the game, Ronin. Now, this is also one of the ones that I would say is probably a good starter pick if you're beginning the game, because she's fairly straightforward to use, and both of her weapons are equally viable, and I would say it depends more or less on map situations and also the rogues you're playing against in determining what gun you should use, but both her rifle and her SMG are absolutely wonderful when fully upgraded, and her ability involves a throwing knife that explodes. Now, the cool thing about this is it will explode on contact when someone gets close enough, so you can pretty much chuck it at either a choke point or on the objective and just wait for someone to walk on it. Unless they spot it, there is very little chance that they're going to be able to break it or outplay it, and you'll probably get a few easy kills just using this. And also, she has one of the best abilities in the game that allows her to move faster after being shot, and this is really good, and I think it's severely underrated as a perk, as it throws off enemies' aim when they expect you to be, you know, moving at a certain speed and at a certain angle, and then it completely throws them off. So Ronin is certainly high tier in this game, and severely recommend that you play her. Coming in just above that, we have Saint, and while I don't really enjoy playing this rogue as much as some someone like a Ronin or a Dallas, his utility is at the crux of every good team composition. He is the main healer, and that's what his function is, and especially good in respawn game modes. Now, Saint can revive teammates using a drone, and this can be especially useful around corners where the enemy can no longer reach them. You can get an easy revive there, and also reviving teammates significantly heals Saint as well. So you're both getting HP by doing this, and you're not really putting yourself at risk, and it will certainly pay off if you do get the res. And speaking of his armory, he does also have one of the coolest guns in the game, which is one of the only rifles that goes in first person when you aim down the sights. It's incredibly accurate, and his trip mine ability is definitely one of the best for holding down choke points leading into an objective. He's a very useful rogue overall, and I don't think he has many downsides. If you enjoy playing the healer class in other modes and video games like this, then you're definitely going to like Saint. Moving on, coming in above Saint, we have Lancer, and this is definitely one of my favorite rogues personally. This is pretty much suit out exactly to my preferred playstyle. She's incredibly quick, very aggressive, and also really hard to, track down and listen for. Her abilities have quite a lot of nuance to it. Her main allows her to run unbelievably quickly, making her hard to track down both visually and just from an audio perspective because her footsteps become silent. You also can't really be revealed during this time unless you're firing. And then also her passive ability makes it so that whenever you roll, it reloads your current weapon. Now, this is one of those things that I've kind of got hard to get into a muscle memory because I'm just so used to reloading with every other rogue. But when you're playing Lancer, you could pretty much just bust out a quick roll, which will be good for movement, and then you come out with a fully loaded gun, which is awesome. This is a rogue that is certainly cut out for people who like playing fast and aggressive, and this is definitely one that I feel very comfortable playing, so I would definitely recommend Lancer if you enjoy that kind of playstyle. The only downside, I think, is her armory. Her guns don't do an incredible amount of damage, but they get the job done in most situations. Coming in just above Lancer, we have one of my personal favorite rogues to play, Phantom. Now, she's got a pretty unique setup. She's the only rogue in the game right now that is truly capable of long-range sniping. There might be some ones added later, but as far as that playstyle is concerned, your only choice really is Phantom if you enjoy that sort of stuff. Her abilities include throwing a nano smoke grenade that will reveal enemies if they're around corners. This can be used to either call them out or just, snipe them yourself. Also, damaging any enemies using Phantom with whatever weapon will delay their health regeneration pretty significantly, so this is good to either clean up the kill yourself when you know they don't have a lot of HP, or call it to your teammates and they can clean up the kill for you. I'm pretty much going to always recommend that you run her sniper and pistol combo, and it's actually worth upgrading the pistol for her in my opinion. The same cannot be said for every rogue. Her sidearm is, pretty much an adjunct to her sniper rifle, and if you don't have those two in combination, you're going to wind up in a lot of trouble because it's not always going to one-shot, especially going up against rogues who may have spawned in with armor. Your success with Phantom is also going to greatly depend on your teammates' abilities to not die, because if your teammates are getting ran through, then Phantom is quite an easy person to flank and then kill otherwise. But if you can keep a far away position and, hold down some angles, Phantom is absolutely wonderful and is super high tier in this game. Definitely one of my favorite, and just objectively one of the best as well. But anyways, moving on and coming in at our next spot, we have Scorch. Now, this is one of those characters that I feel like is going to get nerfed pretty soon because she is pretty busted in terms of her abilities. Now, her main allows her to basically use incendiary rounds, which will cause damage over time simply by tagging someone up. So if you even manage to land any shots and they go around a corner, they're still going to continue to burn, not only taking away health, but delaying health regeneration as well. Her incendiary grenades are incredibly useful for holding down objectives also. And not to mention, she's essentially immune to all fire abilities as well. So she is just like super hard to take down, and they're very scary to go up against. But I highly recommend playing Scorch, especially used in combination with somebody like Talon, who can reveal all enemies, and then you can just simply burn them out. They're an incredibly deadly combo. I'd say her shotgun is her best weapon in her armory, and now it does only hold 2 per magazine before you have to reload, and while that does kind of suck, it is an incredibly hard-hitting shotgun. I also say it's worth investing into upgrading her pistol, because if you do happen to run out of ammo in that shotgun, the pistol is great for cleaning up kills, and again, you combine with that burning ability, I'd say all of those factors combine into Scorch being one of those characters that really snuffs approaches and is such a presence on the battlefield that she's very hard to contend against. So highly recommend playing her. I'd say she's easily one of the best characters in the game, if not the best right now based on personal preference, but strongly recommend you have at least one Scorch on your team in almost all situations. situations. All right, guys, finally coming in today at our number 1 spot, the best rogue in Rogue Company, in my opinion, at the minute is Chalk, and this is absolutely insane. He is the only character right now capable of reviving himself, or just basically instantly healing whenever he likes. That is his main ability. He's one of those characters, again, super straightforward and a pretty easy premise, but incredibly effective. Both his shotgun and SMG, when upgraded, are just completely unbelievable, and paired with grenades in your armory, you're just an unstoppable DPS force. This is best used as a flank character who can get behind enemies and either force people to, you know, break their angle or make plays. And Chalk is one of those characters that rewards a fast and aggressive playstyle, and if you can position yourself tactically while putting out optimal damage, then you're going to be an absolutely unstoppable force. The only downside to Chalk is that he isn't amazing at long-range engagements, only having a shotgun and SMG, so that means if your enemies are playing a little bit more passively and really holding some long-range angles, and if you don't have the option to flank because all of those are held down, then you might end up struggling a little bit with him, but just in very aggressive situations with objectives and everything, he really shines. I don't know if his abilities or anything about his armory is going to get nerfed in the future, but I strongly recommend picking up this character, and he's actually pretty good for starters as well, but he's good all around, so easily my pick for best rogue in the game. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. I would appreciate that a lot. And also, if you guys want to go follow me over on Twitch, where I stream almost every single day, link to that is down below in the description. But I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next stream or the next video. Take it easy, everyone, and peace out.